What's going on, guys? Ryan here, back again with another video. This one is going to be another update video on my 1998 Honda Accord you see before you. So it's been about 7 months since I've done the last update, and I have a few more things to talk about with it, and just wanted to give you guys another update on how it's doing. So here she is. So the first thing I guess I will start with is the exterior. Now, some of you may remember about 3 years ago, not quite, but almost 3 years ago, I got the car repainted, and that's because a tree fell on the roof and screwed it up. But I had the roof fixed, and I had the entire car repainted this beautiful metallic blue color, and I got it done at Maaco, and it was just the mid-grade paint job. In other words, it was the urethane paint, but it had the integrated clear coat. So basically, I think that means they just mixed a little bit of clear in with the base coat and just sprayed it on. In other words, it's a single stage paint job. And while it has held up very well over the past 3 years, I am planning on taking this car on a road trip in October to Phoenix, Arizona, and I wanted to go ahead and try to find something to protect the paint. And my detail buddy, one of my friends that details all my cars, actually started doing ceramic coatings recently, and he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey man, just want to let you know I'm doing ceramic coatings now, and I was wondering if you might be interested in any of your cars." And so I thought about it, and I was like, this would be the perfect car for that, because it has a single stage paint job, and with a ceramic coating, it kind of acts like a very thin clear coat in that it will help protect the surface of the paint and just in general make it easier to wash and keep clean. So I decided to do it yesterday, and here she is. As you can see, she looks very, very nice and shiny. Probably the shiniest it's ever been, even when I first got the paint job done. So I'm really happy with the outcome. If you come up close to the car here, and I get my stupid shadow out of the way, you just see, man, this thing is really, really nice looking now. And yeah, the paint just really pops. And, you know, like I said, it's going to help protect it, so that is something that I am super happy about. And I'm just super, really happy with the result of this ceramic coating job. Now, something I also like that I just mentioned is going to be easier to wash, because I noticed when I washed this car, it's really hard when you're drying it off not to leave smudges all over it, again because it's a single stage paint job. But hopefully with this ceramic coating it should be much easier to clean and such. And just, man, this thing looks so freaking good now. He did obviously the paint surfaces, he did behind the license plates even, which is cool, and he also did the headlights and tail lights and all of the windows with the ceramic coating. So everything is protected, and like I said, should be easier to maintain. And just, man, this thing looks so freaking good. I am super happy with how this came out. Especially from, here's a side view of it. She's looking pretty good. He also restored my lower rocker panel, because this thing was absolutely trashed and just looked like garbage. I never had anything done with it when I got the paint job done, and it was more gray than black back then. So he took care of that as well, which is really cool. And yeah, it just, she looks really awesome. So that's the ceramic coating. Sorry about, there's a car wash over there. Sorry about the noise. But the second thing I'd like to talk about is the wheel situation. Now, a lot of you guys may remember I had some 15-inch black wheels on this thing a while back, and those wheels were really never intended for this car. I just kind of threw them on there because they're what I had. I actually purchased them for another car that I ended up getting rid of, and so I just ran them for a while. But even from the beginning, when I first put those wheels on there, I wanted to get some new ones, and a few weeks ago, or actually more like a month ago now, I finally did it. So here we are. These are Motegi Racing wheels of some variety. I'm actually forgetting the exact, I believe it's the MR143, but I could be wrong. I'll put some text in if I am. But they are 17s. I believe they're 17x8 with a plus 40mm offset. So a little bit, I think actually the fitment is about the same as the 15s were. But as you can see, it's pretty flush with the fender, both front and rear, so I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, they're 17s, so they look a lot better than 15s on this car. I think 17s is a good size for this thing. It just kind of fits the body of the car pretty well. And of course, you still have, you know, some meatiness on the tires left, so it's not going to be, you know, a really rough ride. Speaking of the tires, I went with the Continental Pure Contact LS tires. These are 205/50 R17s, so the exact overall diameter as the stock tires, which I believe are 195/60 R15, if I'm not mistaken. So anyways, the overall diameter is the exact same as stock, so there won't be any speedometer inaccuracy or anything with these wheels. But yeah, this was kind of the finishing touch I wanted to do to this car. the 15-inch wheels really did not do this car any favors, but now that I have these 17s on here, I think it looks pretty awesome. He also put my detailer buddy also put a light ceramic coating on the wheels, but it's not the permanent kind, because he said the permanent kind would make them into glossy wheels, and I really did not care for that. So anyhow, guys, this thing is looking awesome, as you might be able to tell. I'll do another little walk around just so you guys can see this beautiful paint job once again. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. I know I said I don't have any plans for this car in the last update video, but now I'm really serious about it. I don't think this car needs anything else now that it's got, like I said, a nice ceramic coating on the paint job. It's got the new wheels and everything else I've done to it so far, the manual swap, all that good stuff. So I'm super happy with the end result of this thing, and this is how she's gonna stay. So yeah, this side's kind of in the sun anyhow, but yeah, so that is the gist of the exterior stuff. Again, really happy with that, and she's looking real nice. So we're gonna go under the hood now, and I'll talk about one thing I did under there. Not a ton of stuff to report in that department, but let's do it anyways. Alright, now we're under the ranch again. As you can see, we still have our glorious F23A1 4-banger that makes a whopping 150 horsepower on a good day. In all seriousness, this is a great motor. It's one of the better Honda motors, and I mean, they're all pretty good, but this one is a very stout one, much like the K-Series are. Anyhow, the only thing that I have to report under here is that I replaced the PCV valve and this hose that goes to the intake manifold right there. That's the only thing I've done. This car burns a pretty decent amount of oil. It burns about a quart of oil every 800 miles or so. So I threw a new PCV valve on there, and we'll see if that ends up doing anything for me. So I believe I'm only 300 or 400 miles into it at this point, so I'll have to drive 100,000 miles and then check the oil and see if it's any better. But that is the only thing I've done under here. Everything else is still the same. Of course, the manual swap is going great. I still haven't had any issues with it, although I did have to go ahead and try and secure this clutch line a little bit better, because I noticed the other day that the clutch line was actually touching the rear motor mount back there. So basically I just zip tied it to the firewall to kind of keep it out of that vicinity. So that was nice. And I've also noticed a front end clunk coming from the front left recently, but I jacked up the car and I wasn't able to see any sort of loose suspension components or anything like that, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. And now that I mention it, actually, the fact that it's warmed up outside, the noise has pretty much gone away. But I may or may not take it into the dealership and have them look at the ball joints. I'm not too sure yet. I know at least one of the tie rod end boots are torn, so I don't know. I'm planning on taking it on a 1,400 mile round trip road trip in October, so I'd like to take care of that before then, but for now I think it's okay. Like I said, it's not really making the noise now, so I don't really know what to make of that. But yeah, like I said, under here, still doing great. Of course, when we did the manual swap, I put a brand new Denso radiator and 2 new radiator hoses in here, so the cooling system is doing great now that it's getting warm outside again, and the car is running awesomely. So I think that's about it for under here. Again, no other changes other than all of the stuff I had mentioned in the previous videos. So let's go ahead and shut up the hood, and we'll go into the interior. Alright guys, in the interior, no real changes to report. Haven't really done anything in here. It's about the same as it was before. Let me go ahead and take a seat inside real quick. So, like I said before, the manual swap is doing great. No other problems there. Our fabricated clutch pedal mount is still doing just fine. The clutch pedal is still perfect, so that's great. And I still have the Pioneer touchscreen radio. Although there is one thing I would like to get to here in a second once I start the car. So, let's go ahead and do that. Clutch in, give her a start. Alright, so we are sitting at 229,484 miles so far. That is about 1,500 miles on the manual swap thus far. Like I said, it's doing perfectly, still shifts awesome, no complaints there. But one thing that did happen very recently actually is the coolant gauge started acting up. Now I had to do the needle swap when we did this, and I believe I messed with the coolant gauge a little bit too many times because it's acting very erratic nowadays. The fuel gauge is working perfectly, which is great, but the coolant the coolant gauge, sometimes when I start the car, it'll just stay pegged on cold the entire time. It will never get to that middle section, and as you can see, it's still a little bit lower than it should be, given that the car is fully warmed up. So the fact that that happened made me go ahead and purchase a scan gauge. As you can see, I got the scan gauge 2 down here. This is, of course, just a OBD, you know, scan gauge, if you know what that is. It plugs into the OBD port and it gives you a whole bunch of vehicle information that your vehicle may not support from the factory. So as you can see, we have, if I can get the display in focus here, we have our revolutions per minute, we got our speed, the alternator voltage, and our water temperature, which is what I was interested in. So now I can see the exact coolant temperature down to the degrees, and so I won't be guessing around with this stupid coolant gauge anymore. And I was able to hide the wiring completely. You can see the plug for the scan gauge is right here, but other than that, everything is hidden under here, and I was able to run it through the center console piece here, so there's no extraneous wiring that you can really see. So I'm pretty happy with that. It just velcroed to the top of this plastic trim right here, and it's very secure, so I'm not really worried about it falling off. And yeah, that was a cool little addition to the car. I am pretty happy with that as well. So I think that just makes it look kind of cool, and it's kind of down there out of the way, so it's not super in your face or, you know, kind of obnoxious looking. I thought about putting it up here, but I really did not want to. And I know some people like to put them like in the front of the gauge cluster right here, but I wasn't gonna like that either. So I decided that that spot there was the most fitting, and it's just unobtrusive, and it actually looks pretty cool now that I have it set to that nice little blue backlight. You can configure this thing all sorts of ways to display a lot more information than that, but that's really all I was looking for. And of course, it has an RGB backlight, so you can set it to whatever color you want. So there's a lot of adjustability with these things. I believe they're about 150 bucks if I'm not mistaken, so if you have an old car like this and you want some more real-time information, that is a great thing to add. So yeah, without further ado, I guess we can go for a little drive, even though I did that in the last video, but screw it, let's do it again. Alright guys, let's go for a little drive, shall we? So as I alluded to before, the car is still driving beautifully. No issues with the manual swap, 1,500 miles in, so I'm pretty happy about that. I love this thing so much now. It's perfect in my eyes at the moment, so really happy with it. So as you can see, it shifts beautifully. Absolutely love this transmission still. It's one of the better manual transmissions I've driven. And it's super easy to rev match and stuff too, so it's a joy to drive. I'll go ahead and get on the freeway here in a second. And I can actually do a complete pull because the clutch is broken in now. So I will show you guys that here in a second. You might be hearing a little bit of a rattling noise, and I really have not figured out what that is yet. I jacked up the car and looked at all the suspension and whatnot, and I can't see anything wrong, so I'm not too worried about it, but you can hear that rattling noise at certain RPMs, and it's because of something rattling on the driver's side. But I haven't figured out what it is, so haven't figured out what it is yet, that is. So as you can see, this car is really not fast at all, but it's fun to drive and it shifts beautifully like I've mentioned before, so I'm happy with it. I have my other record if I need speed, but for whenever I want to get behind the car with a stick, that's what this thing is for at this point. I now have 3 cars, so I'm not driving this one too much, but on the weekends and stuff, I drive it when I can, and it's a joy to drive now. So with that said, guys, there's not much else I can say or show you, so I guess I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.